Billionaires have poured millions of dollars into this race because they say that we pose an existential threat. And I am here to admit something. They are right.
Imagine a young man born halfway around the world, whose very name signals revolution, who takes on the most powerful forces in Washington and Wall Street and wins. That is the story of Zohran Mamdani. He was not supposed to win. He wasn't supposed to stand a chance. He was young, foreign-born, unconnected, and open about his socialist leanings.
Socialism.
When people say democratic socialist, right? And I'm curious what you think this means. I mean, do you like capitalism?
No, I have many critiques of capitalism. And I think ultimately the definition for me of why I call myself a democratic socialist is the words of Dr. King decades ago. He said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
But he didn't just run a campaign. He ran a movement. Zohran Kwame Mamdani was born in Kampala, Uganda in 1991. His parents were already forces in their own right. His father, Mahmoud Mamdani, is one of Africa's most respected political scholars, and his mother, Mira Nair, is a world-renowned filmmaker. From a young age, Zohran grew up around ideas, books, and conversations about justice, history, and inequality. When he was 7, the family moved to New York City. They settled in Queens, the borough that many call the real face of America. It was here that he learned what life looked like for people who worked hard but never seemed to get ahead. He attended the Bronx High School of Science and later Baldwin College, where he studied Africana Studies. After graduating, he worked as a housing counselor in Queens, helping low-income families fight eviction. It was not a glamorous work, but it grounded him. Every face, every family, every eviction notice reminded him that the policy is not just words on paper. It is life or death for ordinary people.
Tell me what's at the top of your list when you come up to Albany next year.
Number one for me is housing.
When Zohran Mamdani decided to enter politics, many people dismissed him immediately. He was in his early 30s, a Muslim, a son of immigrants, and proudly called himself a democratic socialist.
I think that a lot of people who are against it is because we might not have had the best branding. And I think that for a long time we've allowed ourselves to be defined by others. And I think now is the time for us to define ourselves. And for me, when you ask what does it mean to be a democratic socialist, for me it means to be fighting for a society in which dignity is guaranteed to each and every member of this place.
In a political system built to reward loyalty, wealth, and connections, he had none of those things. The establishment saw him as a threat. Political pundits call him naive. Even some within his own party said he should wait his turn. And outside the party, he was targeted by right-wing critics who painted him as radical and dangerous.
Zohran Mamdani, 34-year-old democratic socialist. He's the front
communist, not socialist, communist. He's far worse than a socialist.
Some people have compared him to a left-wing version of you, charismatic, breaking the old rules. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I'm a much better looking person than him, right? As I've warned for many years, our opponents are hell-bent on turning America into a communist Cuba or socialist Venezuela, and you see what happened to those places.
He turned the insult into a rallying cry. If standing with the people makes me a threat to the establishment, then so be it. Mamdani knew that he couldn't outspend his opponents. His rival, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, was backed by billionaires, major corporations, and Washington insiders. So Mamdani decided to build something money couldn't buy, a movement. He went door to door in Queens and Brooklyn, speaking directly to voters. He didn't rely on polished slogans or expensive ads. He relied on people, taxi drivers, teachers, small business owners, students, and working mothers formed the backbone of his campaign.
These are the hands that will cast votes. These are the hands that will knock on doors. These are the hands that will call your neighbors. And these are the hands that have brought us to this point of making history in this city.
He spoke about things that mattered to them: the rent they could not afford, the subway fares that kept rising, the hospitals that were shutting down in their neighborhoods, and the sense that the city was being built for millionaires and tourists, not for the people who actually lived there. His campaign slogan became a battle cry: working class power over donor power. Every attack against him became a story he could tell. When billionaires funded ads calling him inexperienced, he smiled and said, "I've never had to resign in disgrace. I've never cut Medicaid. I've never taken money from the people I claim to fight for." When they said he was too radical, he answered, "What's radical about asking for a city where everyone can live with dignity?" He didn't hide from his socialist identity. He redefined it. He told voters, "I don't believe billionaires should exist while families go hungry." That's not socialism, that's common sense. As the campaign grew, it became clear that this was not a normal race. Young people flooded his rallies. His volunteers ran one of the largest grassroots operations New York had seen in decades. His TikTok clips and shorts videos went viral, spreading his message far beyond Queens. Then came the moment that changed everything. In one televised debate, Andrew Cuomo tried to corner him. He accused Mamdani of being too inexperienced to understand how real governance works.
No reason to believe you have any merit or qualification for 8.5 million lives. You don't know how to run a government, you don't know how to handle an emergency, and you've literally never proposed a bill on anything that you're now talking about in your campaign.
And Andrew Cuomo, someone who had 10 years to deliver on so much of what he's spoken about. He says that taking 5 years to build affordable housing is the sign of an incompetent government. By his own words, that means he must have led an incompetent government.
People saw through the fear tactics. They saw a young man with conviction and courage standing against the machine. On November 4th, 2025, the impossible happened.
34-year-old Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani won New York City's mayoral race on Tuesday.
Zohran Mamdani was declared the winner of the New York mayoral election. At just 34 years old, he became the youngest mayor in the city's modern history and the first Muslim and Indian American to hold the position. It was more than a victory. It was a statement that the establishment could be challenged, that the voices of ordinary people could still echo louder than billionaires' checkbooks. The same people who said he had no chance were now shaking his hand and calling him Mr. Mayor. But Mamdani never forgot what got him there. In his victory speech, he didn't talk about revenge or celebration. He talked about work. He talked about housing, transport, and dignity. He promised rent freezes on stabilized apartments. He promised to build more public housing. He promised to make city buses fare-free, to make transportation a right, not a privilege. He promised to fund these changes, not by cutting services, but by taxing the wealthiest 1%, those who had benefited the most from the city's growth, while giving back the least.
Talking about a rent freeze, you're talking about free buses, you're talking about free childcare. Can you do that without raising taxes?
I think you can do that, and I think you have to raise taxes on the top 1% of New Yorkers who make more than $1 million a year, and you do that by raising taxes by them 2%. And then you also increase the corporate tax of New York State to match that of New Jersey. So that takes us from about 7.25 to about 11.5%, which is what we see in New Jersey. These things together raise about $9 billion, which more than pays for our economic agenda and also starts to Trump-proof our state.
But are you worried that...
And when he was asked how he planned to handle pressure from Washington, especially from a hostile White House, his answer was simple. I didn't come this far to bow to power. I came here to return power to the people. Zohran Mamdani's story is not just about a man who became mayor. It is about what happens when integrity meets strategy, when principle meets persistence. He showed that you don't need to inherit power. You can build it. You don't need to have the approval of billionaires. You just need the faith of ordinary people. He used the attacks of his critics as his campaign's fuel. He turned their wealth into his weapon, their arrogance into his advantage. He once said, "I found it easy to walk away from money I never wanted to depend on, because I came from people who had already walked away from systems that oppressed them." So, how did Zohran Mamdani defeat the establishment, the billionaires, and even the sitting president's attacks? He did it by turning politics back into what it should be: a fight for people. And the question that lingers is this: if one young man from Queens could do this, what else could a new generation of honest leaders achieve? Because maybe, just maybe, the age of the establishment is ending, and the age of courage is beginning.
So Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.